It is fantastic to see everybody here this afternoon. Thank you so much for braving the summer weather out there and coming down to Studio C. The Chilliwack Creative Commission is gratefully located on the traditional territory of the Stalo people, live from Studio C. Well, kind of live. This is the Chilliwack Creative Commission's Creative Third Thursdays. I'm your host, Geoff Edwards. Creative Third Thursday is for connecting and building a community of creative people starting right here in Chilliwack. And the Creative Third Thursdays is a regular event of Co-work Chilliwack's Studio C. And let's show a little appreciation to our hosts here. Tim McAlpine, there he is. Most of what you need to know about this event can be found at creativethirdthursdays.com. Tickets are free. The rest is all right here when you come to Creative Third Thursdays. And we appreciate, like I said before, you all showing up this afternoon and being part of our studio audience. Creative Third Thursdays is one of the initiatives of the Chilliwack Creative Commission, a group of passionate volunteers working on a number of events around town. And we're a subcommittee of SEPCO. For more about us, visit businessinchilliwack.com. On social media, watch for us with this hashtag, Creative Chilliwack. Ready? Let's meet our guest, our Chilliwack creative this time around.
Welcome to Chilliwack Twilight. I'm your host, Caleb Dankworth, and joining me as always, Caleb Dankworth.
How do you do?
Caleb! What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
Do you like watching movies?
I love movies.
Do you like sitting on your couch?
I'm sitting on my couch right now, Caleb.
You know, I know we're only 13 and stuff, and this is the first concert we've ever been to, but nothing will ever top this.
Now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this son of York. And all the clouds that lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. What? Turn off the lights! Turn it off!
Chris Fassbender is a multi-talented artist, seamlessly transitioning from the stage to screen as an actor, who studied at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York. With a career that spans 2 decades, he's an accomplished actor, creative, video and film editor, and now documentary filmmaker. And from studying in New York to the serene forests of the Fraser Valley, Chris's journey is as diverse as his skill set. And he's currently editing a feature documentary chronicling the vibrant Tractorgrease scene. And we'll have an exclusive movie preview for you a little later in this episode. Not the whole movie, but a good preview of what's to come when they complete the project. Chris's passion for storytelling and well-developed sense of humor shines through in every project. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Fassbender.
Yeah! Woo! Wow. Hey up there. Hey, Jeff.
How you doing, man?
Good. I'm doing really, really well, actually. Too well.
Too well?
Too well.
What do you mean by too well?
Well, first of all, I'm sitting here with Fraser Valley icon. You're really good at hosting, man. Like, I'm watching the monitors in the back, and I'm like, I wonder who they're going to bring up. Because you're really pumping this guest up, and I don't know, how can it get any better than it already is with Geoff on stage? No, you're really good, honestly. So
I want to talk about the video we just watched, the Caleb's, the Dankworths, the Chilliwack Twilight. Tell us about that project, because I think it's absolutely hilarious, and it didn't get the kind of coverage I wish it had gotten. I want to see you doing that on national television.
Well,
it's so funny.
Wow, thanks. That's really nice of you to say. It was just really an idea that came out of sheer and utter boredom. I'd been in Chilliwack for a few years, and I hadn't introduced myself to anyone yet. I'm a bit of I call myself an introverted extrovert. So I really enjoy people. I really like being around people, but I also like sneaking off on my own. So this was an opportunity to find out that I do like people more than I knew, because it started with Chill TV asking me to include something on their show, and then COVID started, and then I was alone in my garage, and I thought, well, what am I going to do now? And so all that stuff that you saw is basically me in my garage and my buddy Kyle at his house in Vancouver, and me filming on a good camera and him filming on his cell phone and me putting us together. And so I kind of just experimented with what I could do with the tools that I had at hand. And, you know, if we were funny, it was probably more, well, it was more likely because of Kyle, who's my other Caleb and my best friend of more than 30 years. More than 30 years. And I just wanted to say one other thing. I'm a lot older than you think I am. Because you said 20 years, and I was like, well, that's cool. I like the idea of having a 20-year career. But I was just in Kelowna, and I met with the producer of one of the things that I was doing there. And he was like, it's been 30 years since we worked on a project together. 30 years. And I was like...
Yeah, I'm in denial. I'm in denial about how quickly time has passed.
Yeah, it's passed pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I'm a 20-year veteran, then so are you.
Yes, thank you, 20-year veteran. So, look, it's always interesting to me where people get their start in their creative journey. You're on a creative journey. And I want to know, when did you know that you were a little different as far as the levels of creativity that you exude from your system?
You know what? I remember the exact moment. I really do. I lived in a weird household. We all lived in weird households in one way or another. I was a pretty terrified kid, probably where my being an introvert comes from. I was scared of a lot of things. I lived in a home that wasn't necessarily going to be able to help me with those sorts of fears, just not to get too personal. And then my dad was a filmmaker living in the city, in the big city. I was living in the country. And he would bring me to different events. And I went to see a show when I was 12 years old with my dad, a piece of theater called The Hot House Prince by Stuart Lemoyne. A very close friend of mine now was starring in that play. I didn't know her at all. And sorry, it wasn't A Hot House Prince. It was called Swing Babes, Planet of the Lost Swing Babes.
There'll be notes later.
Yeah, there'll be notes. I'm going to quiz you on this. Check out Stuart Lemoyne's plays if you haven't read them. They're great. But she did the 11 o'clock number on that show, which is the big number that usually ends a musical. Not ends, it's usually in the 75% done. There'll be a big number, it'll bring down the house. And we were listening to that. I was 12 years old, and I remember leaning over to my dad and going, I want to do this. And my dad remembers that too. And the very next year, I was cast in a play on the same stage as the youngest, I was 13, the youngest actor on that stage to be cast along professionals. I don't know how I got there. I don't remember that bit. But I just remember the spark of going, I need to do this. And then my dad kind of giving me the opportunity or showing me that it was right over there that you could, go for that. And I did it, and it happened.
So tell us a little bit, because we alluded to the fact that you've got some serious education with regard to your career.
Yeah.
Just to talk a little bit about that. We talked about your time in New York.
New York was great. I think anytime you're talking about learning about anything creativity, I think you can be taught a lot of the technical things. I think there are people who can take more from school than others in terms of using what's inside of you to create something that you can relate to other people. I enjoyed my time in New York because I was like all the kids who were the stars of their high school plays all over the United States were in my class. And so just in a nutshell, I decided to take musical theater because I wanted to learn to move. I wanted to learn to sing more. I love music. I should have been a musician. We'll get to that a little bit later with Geoff. But I remember the first day of class, the teacher in my musical theater class was like, let's just sing the songs that you auditioned with. And my classmates got up, and I was like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, why, how did I get into this school? Because they all were like at this super high level of vocals. And I sang my song, and I'm a character actor. I know I'm a character actor. I've got a good voice. I can sing. But I didn't have their voice. And I thought, oh, no, I'm in the wrong place. But then when we get to the acting classes or the Meisner stuff, and I'd be doing what I'd be doing, all my classmates suddenly were like, what the heck? How is he doing this stuff? And I'd be like, oh, okay. So it was great for me in terms of like finding out about who I was going to be in the community at large with, who I was going to be competing with, who was I going to be inspired by. But at the same time, when I came back home, I didn't take my second year at the school because when I got back home, everyone was interested in hiring me. I went to work with amazing seasoned actors that I learned more from in the first few shows that I did because I was there doing it, working with it. It was practical. So I gained a lot more from that, but the experience of living in New York and the experience of being in that class and the experience of, dancing in a studio and getting up and seeing Tommy Tune in the room beside you or, becoming friends with, celebrities who are wandering in your community because New York does have communities. Marissa Tomei was always around. And so eventually I just was like, hey, Marissa Tomei, you're doing a play right by my school. And she was super cool. And everyone just seemed really cool there. Whereas when I was in LA, it was like there was a class system. New York just seemed like everybody mixed and mingled and it was all good. I felt good there.
So at some point in your journey, you decided that you wanted to work on the other side of the camera as a television and film editor.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, because I think it's important as a creative that we have a diverse skill set. So this is your way of being diverse, and you're still bringing a lot of the same sort of mentality maybe
it's
to
true.
it?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I found out that the hard way. Because I was doing a show in Australia. I toured theater for 15 years, and I was doing a show in Australia where I hit the stage and I didn't leave the stage, and I bring the actors on and take the actors off, and kind of keep the audience abreast of the situation. And it was a lot of monologues and whatnot. And the second night we did the show in Australia, I hit the stage. This is a long-winded. I talk a lot for an introvert, but
you're an easy interviewer.
I hit the stage, and I introduced the first character after my first monologue, and they came on stage, and we had done this show like 300 times already, and they just started speaking a different language, like just a totally different language, and I was like, uh-oh. And in my head, I'm like, what is going on? Am I being punked by another actor? Like, why are they doing this? And then my body just went on autopilot. And I've done shows like this before. I'd done it enough where I knew that I could just have an inner monologue with myself and just let my body go about doing the show. And everybody was speaking these weird languages. And I got off stage, and the director was there. And I just burst into tears as I left the stage. Just turned into a puddle, and I went, I never want to do that again. I never want to be on stage again. And he's like, well, we're still touring this quite a bit. You're gonna have to. So I got through that tour, and I got through a few more gigs because I didn't know how to do anything else. But I was like, every moment of this is like torture right now. I don't like having to take my heart and show it to the audience every night. I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't feel like it. It just happened overnight. And so I slowly found myself going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And that's when I thought about film school. I thought about going to become a director, and everyone suggested that I find one niche. And so I chose editing because I understood what editing was in a loose way. And then when I got to school, my editing teacher, who happened to be a genius, I think he's still alive, though he was in his late 90s or mid 90s, but he edited Easy Rider. And so I really liked that movie, and I thought, oh, this guy's cool. I'm going to listen to this guy. But he was watching my editing for the first time in classes, and he was like, you really know what you're doing here. How do you know what you're doing already? And I went, well, because this actor is trying to get this from that actor in this scene, and this person wants this. And basically I have to make a choice for each actor, what they're playing, and decide who the winner is. And they were like, oh, well, that's basically what editing is, like, in a nutshell. But my editing teacher was like, oh, wow, I never realized how close the acting was to editing. And I didn't realize that either. And then I started cutting more, and I was like, wow. And now I'm a documentary editor. So the whole metaphor just goes out the window, and I don't know how I've become a documentary editor or why, but I just did.
Well, I don't know whether it's not related in some way. When it comes to what you're creating for the screen, you're still creating entertainment, right?
You still have to have an arc.
Yeah, it still has to be entertaining.
Yeah.
To be a documentary, it doesn't just have to be. It's not news, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, we'll see with the clip that even Geoff hasn't seen, the bit of the tweaking we've done, how very specific you have to get with, well, any filmmaking, but with documentary filmmaking, it's like, if you're going to get anyone to watch your movie, you need to tell them what it's about within the first 5 minutes. You need to show them that something's going to go wrong within the first 5 minutes. So it's, you have to create drama where sometimes there isn't a lot of drama.
Yeah.
So I've learned that in some documentary filmmaking, kind of like Geoff's documentary about Tractorgrease, you have to rely a little bit more on the emotional journey than the structural stops along the way of the story, because the story is just kind of a general idea that you then have to make about people rather than about the thing itself.
So before we get to the Tractorgrease preview, which is coming up, by the way, Tractorgrease preview.
Don't go.
Stay
You
tuned.
guys up in the balcony, especially. I see you. Hey, stay.
So how did you make the connections with Albert Nirenberg and Nick Sheehan?
It was pretty wild. I had been looking for editing jobs for about a year. I'd been getting a lot of industrials, a lot of animation, not anything high up, not anything where I was getting paid the wage that I can get paid now as an editor. Not to say that I always get paid my wage, but I got to India, and I was there for like 3 months, and I looked on the boards and it said, we're looking for an editor in Chilliwack to do this big thing, and we don't want someone from Vancouver. They didn't say that. Screw Vancouver, we don't want anybody from there. And no, they were just like, basically, I want somebody like who's here in Chilliwack, who wants to cut this. And it just happened to be a CBC project. I was like, well, they're never going to hire me for this, but I'll throw in. And the director got back to me. He said, one of the directors got back to me and said, hey, we liked your pitch, and do you know how to use this stuff? And I was like, what stuff? Yeah, I know how to use that stuff. Didn't know how to use that stuff. And where are you? And I was like, well, I'm in India right now. So I'm a ways from your house. But basically he said, oh, it's working out perfect. You're going to get home right before our crew gets back with a bulk of the material we're going to be cutting. Come in, I'll test you out. And I'm like, okay, cool. He'll test me out. He'll make me do some work, and he'll pay me an honorarium, and then I won't get a credit or something like that. But no, he hired me. He gave me a wage that was already better than most of the industrial stuff I was doing. And then 2 weeks later, he was like, you know what? I really like you. I was going to look for another editor to lead this up, but I'm going to double your wage, and you're now the editor and the post-production coordinator. Go. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what a post-production coordinator is, but that's cool. And
did you have to gear up? Did you have to invest in some equipment? And
I invested in a bit of equipment, but because it was CBC, we got our receipts handled, and that stuff generally went to the production in the end. But yeah, we used some pretty good equipment, and the cameras they were using were the Red cameras, which, you know, are pretty good. They're it was a climate change documentary, and that I was a little bit miffed that I didn't get to go on all the trips. But then I thought of the carbon footprint and went,
You're okay with
it
it?
probably makes sense that I don't go on these trips.
Why don't we roll the preview for this movie?
Yeah, sure.
As we do it, I'm thinking you said you want emotional buy-in. Humor is an emotion.
Oh, it sure is, and this was our way in.
I thought I was working on a light-hearted inquiry into human flatulence.
Definitely have farted many times in my life, and if there is one person that tells you they haven't,
the fart is a rather unique thing.
If someone were to fart right now, we'd all look at that person like we've never done that.
Until I discovered something that woke me up.
Seriously, cow farts are polluting our planet, and that could ultimately lead to the total destruction of all humans.
Are we all gonna die because of farts?
Wow. Cool. Thanks. Yeah, brings back good memories. Although I watched it yesterday.
Edited by Chris Fassbender.
Yeah.
There you go. Tell us a little bit about your editing process, because like we kind of alluded to there being some similarities between storytelling and drama. What kind of, for those people that are watching that might be interested in editing their own things, what can you offer as valuable tips?
Well, I think with documentary making, I can especially speak to right now with the Tractorgrease movie, although it became an issue here as well, where you don't want to get ahead of yourself. You want to tell your story first. I could talk all day about technical tips and tricks, but I think the very best advice I can give is just know what your story is and what you want to say, how you want to say it, and then go about telling that story with your audio, essentially, especially with documentary making or with any sort of idea. That's why they do a master in film, right? They'll always start with the master shot. They just want to make sure that you know where you are,
context,
who's in the room.
Yeah.
So often I will just use the master, whatever that is in documentary, to just hear out the ideas first. Design the story with the audio, and I don't care what I'm looking at. And then I will so with Geoff's movie, we've got, and you've seen a bit of it, or you watched the whole thing, what we have, the first time we watched it. Because what I did was I went, Geoff, there's a story. Okay, I'm going to tell Geoff's story, even though I should be telling Geoff's story the whole time. That's the next step. Oh, there's Dion Weisbrod. Okay, I can tell his story. Okay, there's another. So I take all the stories, I put them down very basically, and I just go, okay, is this what I want to say about these people? Is this how I want to present them? And then I find a way to bring the characters together. So really quickly, what I'm doing with the great creators is I've overbuilt it to about 2 hours and 10 minutes right now. And we're now whittling away, but we're also asking, what are we missing? The honest to gosh hilarious thing for me that I'll talk about next year when we have this conversation is that I forgot about Geoff. Like I was so enamored by all of his friends and what he had done to lift them up and all of their stories that I went, wait a second, we missed the subject. So there you go. Like that's why you have to don't go into like scrubbing and polishing and waxing your stuff before you know what it is you want it to be, because you could spend your whole life polishing and waxing and then go back on it and go, oh, we weren't even ready for that. And I did all this work on this shot that we're not even going to use. Yeah. So I just, the
story.
Yeah, it's all about story. It has to be about the story.
It's interesting how connections are made, and it's what we're doing with Creative Third Thursdays, in fact. So we're connecting people who functionally are creative in our community. So Geoff Bonner, as we've been talking about, the other Geoff, the other Geoff
really
in the room.
Confusing. You get a bunch of Jeffs and Chris's together, and it's like exploring drugs for the first time, really.
You guys have been working really hard lately. Let's roll the Creative Third Thursday exclusive feature preview.
This is really exclusive. Geoff hasn't even seen it. That's how exclusive.
Hello there, folks. How's everyone doing tonight? Let's hear it for Harma White.
Yeah, funny story with Tractorgrease. I didn't really know which way I was going with it.
It's been years working with these guys, and it just feels like such a privilege to get them out to Tractorgrease here on our last weekend. I know that's shitty, but you know what? I'm gonna resurface somewhere too.
I'm Bill Fulton, and I am a great creator.
My name's Forbes, and I am a great creator.
My name is Jim Erickson, and I am a great creator.
And I'm a great creator.
My name is Dion Wiesbrod, and I'm a great creator.
I'm Kyle Schick, and I'm a great creator.
Hi, I'm Joe Mapperson, and I'm a great creator.
Martin, and I'm a great creator.
My name is Jay Gavin, and I'm a great creator.
My name's Quinn, and I'm a great creator.
Ridley Bent, I am a great creator.
I'm Geoff Bonner, and I'm a great creator.
That's us.
You got to get the mayor in there, eh?
That's great. Like you're working with a pretty detailed story, and I was at the studio, like you said, and the amount of material that you have access to. Geoff Bonner he's been filming things for so many years at the studio, and has this amazing archive of content.
It's immense.
Yeah.
And it's both a privilege and a absolute piece of gold to have that, and it's also like albatross and like a weight that I as we were cutting this, I think I talked to Geoff about this too. I'm like, I just heard Werner Herzog talk about documentary making and how, I can't remember what documentary he was talking about, but he said it's 2 hours long and I shot 7 hours. And I was like, of a documentary? You shot 7 hours? Like you knew exactly what you wanted and you just went and got it? And he said, he went on to say, and any filmmaker that has a ratio any higher than that just doesn't know what they're doing. And I like felt like having a tantrum because I love Werner Herzog, but I also was just like, I hate Werner Herzog. How does he do that? Like, can you imagine?
I think he shoots like anything like that. I've heard the similar thing from. I don't think it was the same thing, but I've heard Werner Herzog talk like that before.
Like we're talking Geoff. He's got no word of a lie. Like at a minimum 1,000 hours of material.
Yeah, I know you're using FireWire. You're using really old technology because it's on digital videotape, which of course was obsoletized a long time ago.
I know, and for some reason Geoff has still held on to it. So I'm just like, well, good. I mean the machines, because otherwise those tapes we could use as like, I don't know, doorstops.
Exactly. So what is the plan for it? Where is it going? Like, where will people be able to view it?
Well, first off, right now at Tractorgrease.com. Mm-hmm. You can join our crowdfunding. So if you go to Tractorgrease.com, we do need a little bit of help getting it across the finish line. Mm-hmm. We've got great support from Tourism Chilliwack and some other small factors, but for now, I think what we're going to do is gently massage this into an 1.5-hour length movie. Mm-hmm. We've got an idea as to how we'll go about doing that, and then I think we're gonna have like a big party, and we're gonna run it here, like not here. Sorry, Tim, it's not quite big enough, but
festivals.
Well, festivals, yes, but I think and again, I don't know if this needs to be in the YouTube video, but. The climate change movie, for instance, we had opportunities to play it for our community and we just didn't take them. I want to prioritize, and I think Geoff does too, bringing the movie to the community first and to the tractor greasers and to the people who, are bonded to all of that. That's what I want to do. And Geoff and I care about this a lot. So it's really just about the joy of making it, and then we'll see what comes. But I just want to do what Geoff did for me and lift those other people up. Like a guy like I've already mentioned, Dion Wiesbrod, who honestly should be known across Canada. And so if we can get even 10 more eyes on him that never saw him before, then I'll feel like I've done my job, because I just can't tell you how. And I wish I could be at this Creative Chilliwack commission every week. It's my family day generally. My grandkid is at the house right now, and we're generally playing on Thursday nights and having dinner and whatnot. But I cannot say enough about the feeling of being welcomed by the community when I finally decided to come out of hiding. And I've told Geoff this already, but like, Geoff is paying forward, as he always has, to other artists that haven't had those opportunities that he didn't get until other people afforded him the opportunities. And I think that's what I think this movie is really about.
Yeah.
And so that's what we want to do with the movie, is we want to put Chilliwack onto a bigger pedestal, and we want to put the artists from Chilliwack on a bigger pedestal. And then we want to continue following these people. Like, I'm not just gonna finish this movie and let it go. I love these artists and I love the subject, and I should have been a musician. I already mentioned that, but I got into theater instead.
Yeah.
Because of that stupid 11 o'clock number that my friend Andrea House sang.
So let's go back to your acting, because I saw the other day an amazing audition that this gentleman did for a part in a movie as the bad guy. And before we go out, I've just got to get you to do that smirk that you did for the bad guy. So there was a smirk doing there. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
It's the Kubrick stare.
It's something. It's very scary.
I just use that.
Awesome. Look, we all wish you all the best, Chris. I think continuing success with your endeavors, your editing, your filmmaking, and your acting. Because I introduced him to my agent.
Yeah, which was awesome, because last thing is I use TikTok. I'm not on TikTok anymore, But I used TikTok, lives, I played guitar, I sang, I got over my stage fright that way. I failed terribly, and I loved failing in front of people, and I went, it's okay. And if not for that, and then you coming by the studio and going, you should try. And I'm like, oh, I haven't done this in 15 years, gone to an audition, or 10 years or something. Okay. And I actually went through a whole year of it and called Jenny, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too emotionally, like, it just plays with your brain sometimes. You do so many auditions. I did 2 auditions running out the door as I left today. But then Jenny called me back a year later after I quit and was like, you should come back. You're good, man. And things will work out. And she was right. She was right. And having the opportunity to perform for a crew, it's so like being on stage for me. And I really enjoy that. It's going to be fun.
It's an amazing feeling to be working with a big crew of people to make that thing work on camera.
It's pretty wild.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of us here at Creative Third Thursdays wish you all the best, Chris. Chris Fassbender, everybody. Creative Third Thursdays is a Chilliwack Creative Commission event. Keep an eye on our tag, Creative Chilliwack. Next month's Creative Third Thursdays will be with Nicholas Humphreys, a Sardis secondary graduate who has made a name for himself as a movie director. I met him on set in Kelowna recently, so follow Nick on Instagram for more. He's at Nicholas Humphreys. So there's cold drinks in the lobby, and meet people, take selfies, say hello to your friends. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.